What's good, my friends? The band is back together again, and this is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the fan upstate, rolling on until 7 p.m. Can I get an amen? Fantastic to have you guys with us. Diesel back from an extended staycay.
It was so nice. It was so nice. I went basically nowhere, did basically nothing. It was everything I thought it could be. I got out and played 2 rounds of golf. Had a great day by the pool yesterday. Man, you can't ask for anything better than that. 10 days away from work. 10 days. Most people don't ever get that, and I loved it.
You did nothing,
Loved
and
it.
it was everything you ever thought it could be,
Yeah,
right?
I went to 2 concerts, played 2 rounds of golf. Life was good.
Man,
for 10 days.
It is. And I'll tell you what, big thanks to Brandon Keeler. Did a really nice job in your absence, Diesel, and great to have you back. And guys, we are full of piss and vinegar, and we are ready to rock it out today and all week long. Got a lot of exciting stuff here coming up, man. A lot of exciting stuff here coming up. Diesel had a birthday last week. I had a birthday last week. Diesel, you are how old now? 38? Is that right? Are you
39?
39. Diesel is 39 years old, the same age as my wife. That's incredible. Here's what's coming up on the show today, my friends.
You cradle robber, you.
That's right. Folks, this might be the most egregious example of helmet scouting I've ever seen in my life coming up on the show today. We've got Chris Phillips an hour early at 3:40 today. I have in my hands the very first college football preview magazine.
How does it smell?
It smells amazing.
Yeah.
It's I'll tell you, Diesel, they're charging you more and they're giving you less. You know, that this is
that's the way of the world, though, right?
Remember how in these magazines, oh my God, Diesel, look at this. Look, I didn't even realize this until right now. This is the Mountain West. Look, you get a half a page per team in the Mountain West. Look at this. Like you get a quarter of a page. You don't even get the full spread anymore per team.
Yeah, but did you ever really use all of that information anyway?
No, but it was nice to have it in case you wanted to. And I'll give you another example, Diesel. I'll give you another one here. So they used to, like, a team in a Power 5 used to get the full 2 pages, and now it's just the 1 page. See what I'm saying? So you're paying more. You're getting less.
Hey, they're being eco-friendly at least, right? They could have just made the font smaller, and then us old fogies wouldn't have been able to read the damn thing.
That's right. I've got my 10 key observations, and I tried to spin it local to the best of my ability for the Athlon College Football Preview magazine. An important would you rather question on the NBA. We've got onsides and offsides and so much more here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. Here's how you can take part. You can give us a ring at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. The text line is there for you at 71307 to start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. Diesel, as a late birthday present, and as a show of goodwill, I had, Diesel, the worst beach experience of my life over the weekend. Okay. And I just want you to pick a time that we're going to get to that. Okay. And I will get to it at precisely the time that you say right now.
Did a jellyfish swim up your shorts?
That would have made it better. Diesel. That would have
Okay.
improved the experience.
Okay. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this at 3:50.
We can't because Chris Phillips is going to
Okay. Let's talk about it at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Leads the hour.
Okay.
Why not?
The worst beach experience of my life. Okay. And some of y'all have some apologies to send to me and all that good stuff of my life. The worst beach experience actually happened yesterday. Okay. Of my entire life, of my entire existence. That's coming up an hour from right now. Guys, it's interesting. Some of these, like we all know who the coaches are that are on the hot seat as we enter this year. Like we all have an idea as to who they are, but in many cases, folks, you really can't predict who's going to lose their gig. Every single year, there are guys that lose their job, and you're like, I didn't realize that he was on the hot seat. What is going on here behind the scenes, right? Jim McElwain lost his job at the University of Florida when he made it to 2 SEC championship games. And it's like, well, what was the issue here? Oh, it was behind the scenes stuff, right? There are the guys that you know are on the hot seat that don't lose their job.
It was the posing with dead sharks. That's what it was.
Right. Then, you know why that was, Diesel? It wasn't because that, number one, that wasn't him.
Yeah, I know.
But number two, here's what got him in big trouble. He said that he got death threats from that, and he didn't.
Oh.
And he couldn't produce the death threats. And so, like, when the university looked at that like a black eye on them, that he's saying, like, people are delivering death threats to the university. And when he couldn't produce that, then he lost his job. You know what I mean? So you can't go down that road, right? Like there's certain things that you can't say when HR is involved. And then when HR thinks you're lying to them, you're not going to be employed there very long.
So it's basically a Jussie Smollett situation.
Yeah, it is.
That guy.
It is. Yeah, it is. Exactly. So the bottom line is, I'm going to ask you guys in the first segment, who is the first Power 5 head coach that's going to lose his job here in 2023? The first guy that is going to be bleep canned in 2023 from a Power 5 conference. Who is it going to be? And then we ask you for the ACC and the SEC. We are about to enter the month that we begin our ACC and SEC team preview series. We've already got Mad Craft going on the YouTube page. What's going on, guys? Welcome back, Diesel. There is something, Diesel, and I want to be able to adequately show this. How do I do this? Okay.
No. You know,
you see here? Okay. You see this?
Yeah.
Okay. So Diesel, you do the same. Okay. And maybe Diesel can adjust his camera. Folks,
we're wearing the same outfit.
Diesel and I have exactly the same outfit on. Okay. You planned this. You don't know Diesel and I that well. We don't talk a ton. There's no way in hell this would ever have happened. Okay? There's no way in hell Diesel and I would ever have coordinated this.
And I literally just bought these shorts over the weekend. Yes. I just bought them.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Wow. I've had mine for 5 years.
Wow.
Probably looks like
you need to update your wardrobe there.
No, I know. But I'll tell you what. It's mind-boggling to me that Diesel and I are wearing the exact same thing.
Have you ever heard of that phenomenon that people and their dogs start to look the same after a while?
I have.
Like they're like, you always see that middle-aged lady with a big fluffy dog, and her hair just keeps getting bigger and bigger, or she wears flowy clothes, or you got the guy who rocks a dog with really short hair, like a muscular dog, and of course he's most of the time like a beefy muscular dude.
Right.
Yeah, people look like their dogs.
I don't know. Does that mean you're my dog or I'm your dog? What does it mean? It's like, where are we going with this? But the reality is, I don't know how it happened, folks. We've got a picture of it on our Twitter page at the Fan Upstate. Thank God we work inside, Diesel. I wouldn't want to go anywhere today looking like this. It's like we lost a bet or something, man. This is unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. We both got the salmon colored shorts. We both got the navy blue shirt. We both got dashingly good looks. All right. And that's about it. That's about it, my friends. It's crazy. Have you ever shown up to work wearing literally not only the exact same outfit, but this isn't a common outfit. Like for Diesel and I to be wearing, most guys don't have a pair of salmon colored shorts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so we're wearing salmon colored shorts and the same blue shirt on the same day. This is madness.
The only difference is that your shirt is like a scoop neck, like a round neck. Mine's a V-neck.
That's true.
And yours has little thin stripes across the chest and the arms, and mine's solid blue. That's the only difference. But from a distance, they look identical.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing in the world, man. I have no idea how this happened. I posted the picture, and for some reason in the picture, Diesel has stolen all my muscles. I don't know how and why that happened, but he's stolen all my muscles in the picture. We'll have to make sense of that some way, shape, or form. We'll have this up on the Facebook page too, so we can explain to you guys what in the heck is going on here and how this all went down. But again, we open it up to you at 326-3663. And this question, who is the first Power 5 coach that's going to lose their job this year, and how this all breaks down and how this all comes out? I think we have to accept the facts, and we have to highlight that there is a difference between being on the hot seat and being under pressure, right? There is a difference between that. Under Pressure is a great song. Under Pressure. Kirby Smart was under pressure because he wasn't winning national championships. It was not on the hot seat. He wasn't going to lose his job, but people wanted to see that he could take the next step.
If you could only see the myriad of hateful messages we got on our YouTube video about Shane Beamer being under pressure this year.
Right.
Because South Carolina fans, they don't understand what that means. They just lose their minds. Oh, what are you saying? Why are you saying this? He's not under pressure. He's not on the hot seat. No, nobody said that. Nobody said he was in danger of getting fired. You jumped to conclusions.
So, yeah, 100%. But Shane Beamer is under pressure. The pressure is that he wants to avoid Diesel. People saying by the end of the year, same old Gamecocks, right? I mean, you know as well as I do. If they crap the bed this year, if they go 6-6, 5-7, if they do that again this year, you know it's going to be same old Gamecocks.
They can't get over the hump.
The more things stay the same. So there is very clearly pressure that he's under, right? You know, something that happens one time is a blip. Something that happens multiple times is a trend. Beamer is under pressure, but in no way, shape, or form is he under the hot seat. Diesel, I think Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern is firmly on the hot seat right now. He's a guy who's gotten a lot of love, who's gotten a lot of attention from a lot of other schools, and Northwestern is just consistently inconsistent. They had this stretch of years where it was like every even year they were great and every odd year they sucked. And then now he started sucking even in the even and odd years as well. And he is consistently inconsistent. You think Texas A&M would ever pull the plug on Jimbo Fisher? Coaching salaries have gone so crazy that Jimbo Fisher's 10-year, $75 million deal that he signed there doesn't even seem so crazy anymore, because he's now gotten a raise since then, and now coaches are making $10, $11, $12 million a year, when that just a few years ago when he signed that was insane.
Imagine throwing out $10 million a year to search for a good head coach.
Right.
You pay $10 million when you know you've got an elite head coach. You don't pay that when you're searching, flinging crap against the wall to see what sticks. That's what Texas A&M is doing. That's an unenviable position to be in.
No, it is, man. It really is. And you look back at what they did, a season ago, and the Athlon projects them to be 8-4 and 4-4 in the SEC. National forecast is number 20, but last year they were 5-7, 2-6 in the SEC. His numbers look eerily similar to what Kevin Sumlin did right before him. And Kevin Sumlin got run out of town. And I'm not about to throw the race card on you. It's more the investment, card, because they invested so much in Jimbo Fisher. Is this guy still going to be around at this point? I think Neil Brown at West Virginia is in a bit of trouble. I think Jeff Hafley, they're wanting to see at Boston College, is he going and ready, willing, and able to take the next step? And Diesel, I think Eli Drinkwitz, you'll have to explain to me why he got a raise to $7 million a year based on what he's done. So it's who really is in trouble here, right? Is Eli Drinkwitz the first to go from the SEC? Would A&M, they've got the coffers, would they move on from Jimbo Fisher if he craps the bed 2 years in a row? With the anger, if they drop the losing record, Diesel, 2 years in a row, would the anger rise to the level that they could do that? Is it possible they could lose 5 games? Let's look. They're at Miami. They have Alabama. They're at Tennessee. They're at LSU. The non-conference isn't bad. New Mexico, Louisiana Monroe, Abilene Christian. Give me a break. But they do throw an at Miami in there. Somehow, if they finish 6-6, 7-5, 5-7, you wonder if the natives would get restless.
Man, I can't wait to watch Eli Drinkwitz get fired at Missouri. Look, have you ever heard that saying, people get promoted to the level of their incompetence? Like the guy, he had one great season where he was given everything he could possibly want to be a head coach and to be successful. I think Eli Drinkwitz is a very talented and very innovative offensive guy. But man, you had one season as the head coach of a good group of 5 program, and then you jump to a cellar dweller Power 5 SEC program. You got a lot of things to fix. You got a lot of problems to take care of. Scott Satterfield left Eli Drinkwitz in a really good position. He was able to take that and be successful in one season, and then he bolted for more money. And hey, who am I to say a guy that's making, he was probably making $300K, $400K base salary at App State? It's hard for me to say I wouldn't take that kind of life-changing money to go to $4 to $5 million a year in the SEC. Sure, I would. But Eli Drinkwitz also, had he been successful for another season, he would have learned more. He would have been better equipped, and he still would have gotten a Power 5 job a year or two down the road. And Will Pelagic, ladies and gentlemen, is a Missouri alum. And you know what? I just want to wipe that smug smile off his face.
Will Pelagic here, consternation across the nation. So yeah, we like Will over here. He's a Missouri grad. And I will tell you what, it's just, we're learning that Eli Drinkwitz does not move the needle, Diesel. And Boston College, Jeff Hafley is in trouble at Boston College because he's not moving the needle. And we're giving less and less time and less patience for guys to move the needle.
I think if you'd put Eli Drinkwitz in a situation where, you know, he takes over for Mac Brown, who did a couple of good things at North Carolina, he had taken over for him. I think Eli Drinkwitz is in a much better place. But man, he went from a Ferrari to a beater Pinto, and he just didn't know how to drive it.
You're right. No, he didn't at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Spurrier did not win 9 games at South Carolina, Diesel, until year 6. Okay? Until year 6. Does Beamer get year 6? Okay? Does he get year 6 to get to 9 wins?
I think he absolutely does. I think there's enough goodwill there. Yeah.
So he could go 8-5, 7-5, 7-6,
because so many South Carolina fans see 7-5, 8-4 as better than anything they've had in a long time. Like that might get you a statue, not a big one. It gets you a little one, you know, maybe a hedge cut into your image.
Spurrier's first 5 seasons, 7-5, 8-5, 6-6, 7-6, 7-6. And he got year 6 when this was like, okay, this is who he is. Man, I guess he didn't get it done at South Carolina. Then in year 6, he goes 9-5, and then the 3 straight 11-2 seasons, 3 straight. But good gosh, before 11-2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it was year 7 before he got to 11-2. In this era, all right, almost every coach that is going to pops in year 3, right? So which school is not going to be patient with their coach? Is Jimbo Fisher the first to go of the Power 5 this year? Is Pat Fitzgerald the first to go from the Power 5 this year? Miami wouldn't let go Mario Cristobal if he stinks in year 2, would he? I think Florida is due for an implosion this year. I don't think there's pressure on Billy Napier this year, but there will be next year. Is there pressure on Brent Venables? Mel Tucker, Michigan State, hit it out of the park in year 1, wet the bed in year number 2. How about Greg Schiano, not Schiano, Schiano at Rutgers? Is he on the hot seat there?
That's his second stint at Rutgers, right?
It's the second stint at Rutgers. Which Power 5 coach is the first to go? I'm going to say, Diesel, it's going to be Pat Fitzgerald, even though I like him. And I think the deal that Missouri gave Drinkwitz, which is senseless, prohibits them moving on from him. I think it prohibits them moving on from him. I really do. The how, the why, I don't know. But I don't know that they can afford to eat the extension that they gave him.
Not a program like that. They don't have that kind of money, which is crazy because you're getting 50 million a year. Like if that 50 million a year can't buy out a coach that stinks, man, that's you're in a tough spot.
Coming up next on the show, it is perhaps the most egregious example of helmet scouting I have ever seen, and it's freaking disgusting. That, my friends, is next, and this is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Happy Super Tuesday, everybody. Hope you had a fantastic holiday weekend, to say the least. I can't wait to tell you about this awful beach experience, man. Awful. Like, worst beach experience of my life. Coming up at 4 o'clock, we've got Chris Phillips coming up in the next segment. Guys, this is the bar none. And by the way, a lot of kind words coming on the YouTube comments right now. A lot of comments to Brandon Keeler for the job he did last week. Awesome job from Spur Daddy and Dan B. To the best of our ability, and Diesel does such an outstanding job with our content and getting our content out there. And we're, as you guys know, we're chasing download records for the station this year. And so it's like, it makes it hard to hit the records that we do if we then don't have any content being posted when Diesel's out, And so we had Brandon come in, undergo some training, and then together last week, Brandon and I were tag teaming that son of a gun. And we had a halfway decent week together of posting consumable, downloadable content that people can, listen to, ingest on their own time. And appreciate that, Brandon. So outstanding job, buddy. Madcraft, what's good? DB, Spur Daddy, everyone on the YouTube channel right now.
Dan B makes a good point here. He says we need Mark Hendricks to get Carlos with a K and Brandon to do the noon to 3 show.
Listen to that.
It's a smart idea there, DB.
I'll tell you what. People are floating some ideas around here. Texter Chris Arnett says, finally the boys are back in town. Love the live stream. Spur Daddy says, I say if A&M wins less than 9 games this year, Jimbo is toast. Yeah, I don't see 9 wins on their schedule, if I'm totally honest with you. Let's see here. Auburn at home, Arkansas, they're going to have to win a lot of these 50-50 games, man. South Carolina, is South Carolina a 50-50 game for them this year? They got a very, very manageable non-conference schedule, and they get Alabama at home. They're at LSU the last game of the year. We'll see. We will soon see. Michigan J. Todd says, Diesel, I love the fact that you are quoting the Peter principle, which is that people rise to the level of their competence. Great book, and so true in life.
Well, I took it the opposite direction, that people are promoted to the level of their incompetence.
Yeah.
And then they get fired.
Yeah. Texter says, your outfits look like recently married outfits. Hey, if the shoe fits, right?
Tomorrow we're going to come in wearing matching tracksuits. We're going to do some mall walking.
My wife, oh God, please no. My wife bought me the same salmon-colored type shorts around year 2 of our marriage. After 15 years, I no longer own that type of shorts. Here's the question I have for you guys. Like, I am working diligently. Like Angela told me over the weekend some point, she said, people typically have the biggest problems in their marriage after year 1 and after year 3. Those are the 2 times when they have the biggest problems. And it's just like, I don't know why that is. Diesel, like I can say this here, I think, because my closest friends don't live here. Okay. But like, if you said to me, Mark, who are your 5 or 6 closest friends from like your high school and college years? 2 of my 5 or 6 closest friends in the last year have gotten divorced, and they were with their wives since college. So literally, I'm 46. They were with their wives. They were married at 22. And so they were married a lifetime ago.
I think getting married at a young age is a terrible idea.
And Diesel,
because you're still changing. You don't know who you are.
Right.
You really don't know who they are. You're going to go through massive changes later on in your life. And who knows, you might be together because you were just infatuated because you saw her in English class and thought she was really cute. And that's really as deep as it ever really went. I think getting married at a young age is a terrible idea.
Yeah, and I felt for a long time, Diesel, that, man, like when I wasn't getting married and when I wasn't finding the right girl and all that stuff, I was like, number one, it's me, which would make perfect sense. But number two, it was like, I guess I had to get married in college. Nobody told me that you have to meet the girl in college, because all my best buds, they married the girl. They married their college sweetheart, and they married her right when they were finishing college, 22, 23 years of age. And now 2 of them are divorced. And it's kind of thrown me for a little bit, man. It really has. Like, a couple of weeks ago, I talked to one of my buds and found out that he had split from his wife. And like, they were at least from what you saw publicly, they were the picture of a perfect marriage. And it's like, he said to me, we've been having problems for a while. We split. I got my own condo now. What? Like, what? Like just drive by. But, Michigan J. Todd says, I no longer own those salmon color shorts in year 15 of marriage. And I never want to get to the point, Diesel, where I like become lazy and complacent in marriage. I never want to do that.
Right.
So what is that year of marriage where people just frankly don't give a damn anymore? And you can tell when they don't give a damn anymore.
You got to get to that. If you get to the point where you're not trying to look hot for your spouse, then it's over.
It's over.
It's over. Because that means you're not trying anymore. You don't really care about enticing them, about attracting them. That's when you start taking them for granted. That's when you wear sweatpants around the house more than you should. That's when you go out all the time looking like a schlub. I think that's when it's over, man.
It's, I don't know when that happens, but I know it happens to a lot of you. Okay. I know like you reach an age of marriage where you just don't give a damn anymore. And whatever year that is, if it's year 8 or whatever, I want to make damn sure that I never go down that road. Okay. That's important because and you never hear the reason. These are close friends of mine. I'm not comfortable asking them what happened. I'm not comfortable saying, dude, where did this all go wrong? I never would have seen this coming, And like 2 of my 6 best friends from my life in the last year have gotten divorced at my age, been married forever. Like, Diesel has been married for 6 months. I've been married for 6 months. As 2 newlyweds, educate us. Like, what happens in the middle of life with my friends? Why are they suddenly getting divorced? What is the age where you hit a marriage and you don't give a rip anymore? 844 fan phone. That's 844-326-3663 is the number to get to us. Texter says if Beamer recruits every season like he's doing this year, he'll win 9 games or more every year, no doubt. Texter says Lou Holtz went 9-3 in his 3rd year at South Carolina. Then he had some incredibly mediocre years. Yeah, Will Muschamp went 9-4 in his 2nd year at South Carolina. Then had some incredibly mediocre years. Texter says, I saw a graphic today, and the Gamecocks are at 89% on the blue chip ratio for 2024, only second to Alabama in the entire country. Texter, that's good. You're going to take some 3 stars eventually. That'll lower the number, right? The only thing that matters is that you're over 50%. You don't have to be the highest at blue chip ratio. And, but he's doing a great job. And you're starting to wonder, we're about halfway through the class right now. You're starting to wonder if he actually is going to finish with a higher ranked class than Dabo. Clemson's like 21st. South Carolina's like 8th, right? Texter says, I was 22 and she was 19. Over 31 years later, we are still dead sexy together and have never raised voices at each other. Diesel, I think that's a key. Do you and Ashley do a good job of that? Not raising voices? I can't think of a single time that Angela's raised her voice.
You can have an argument, and it can be a heated argument. But when it gets when it boils over to that point of anger where you're screaming at each other, that's when the conversation changes. That's when it gets much more real. Like, have you ever heard that phrase, people won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel? And if you get to that point where you're raising your voice and yelling in anger, then they'll never forget they'll never forget that feeling.
You know what the number 1 predictive behavior of divorce is in terms of an action, Diesel? Okay, psychologists have studied this. You guys can tell me if this is in your marriage or not. The eye roll. The eye roll, when somebody mentions something and you eye roll them, that is the number 1 predictive behavior because it shows a lack of respect. It shows that a lack of patience, right? I've been in relationships, Diesel, where the voice is raised in my direction every day. Okay. Now I'm in one where the voice is never raised in my direction. It's fantastic. Texter says, listen, youngins, pull up a chair and let me school you something. When your lady hits menopause, you guys will understand that looking hot is traded for actually being hot. Then you find out, if it's real love. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate that very, very much. Hey, what do you say we talk some college baseball regional action with our guy, Chris Phillips of the Spurs Up Show? We'll do so next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. The band is back together again. We are the Fan Upstate. Fantastic to have you guys with us. All right, Chris Phillips of the Spurs Up Show joins us right now on the show. The Gamecocks are hosting a regional, which came as a surprise to some. And he joins us right now on the show. Chris, you know, when we have March Madness and when they put the March Madness bracket together, it doesn't always follow the top 25 to a T. But I've never seen such an egregious ignoring of the ranking system that is used. How do you have not one, not two? How do you have two different schools who are unranked out of 25 teams awarded one of the 16 best berths in the country? How does that happen?
Well, Mark, first things first, man, appreciate you having me on. And Diesel, glad you're back in the studio with Mark. But I'll just say this, it feels good to be in the SEC. I think, honestly, the SEC brand carries a lot of weight in college baseball, it being the best conference in college baseball. I also think, too, because the top 25 is not really a perfect system in college baseball, right? I mean, there's 7 different top 25 polls. I mean, you could find one that had Carolina ranked in the top 20. But, you know, I'll tell you this, Mark, to your point about the hosting conversation. And, you know, I thought Carolina had a compelling case. You know what I mean? You play in the best conference in the country. You were just 1 win shy of being a 40-win team in that conference. You had a 16-14 SEC record, right?
Yeah, but
so
that's wait,
Go
Chris.
ahead.
16 and 14 is mediocre. That's mediocre. Is that right? I mean, that's one. 500 is mediocre. 16 and 14 is 500. You're a 500 team in conference. That's not great.
1 win shy of 40 wins. Again, I also think when you look at the committee, this is what it tells you. I'll tell you this. I thought Carolina was on the bubble. I thought you could reason with both sides. I thought they deserved to host. I was expecting the worst, hoping for the best. What it goes to show, though, the committee valued RPI, strength of schedule, and the SEC brand over everything else. That is why South Carolina is a regional host.
So what is up with obviously, and I don't know enough about college baseball to be able to give you the answer here, but obviously a different group of people are picking the seeds than are voting in the poll, right? So what do you make of the poll, Chris? Like, South Carolina hasn't been in the top 25 for some time now. I guess that's irrelevant.
I mean, Mark, with it, it's harsh to say it, but yes, the top 25 in college baseball is probably the most irrelevant top 25 poll in any of the major sports.
Wow.
Because you don't have an AP top 25. And the folks at D1Baseball.com, they do a great job. But they sort of win by default in that space. And again, I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm talking down to them because I love their work. We've had Aaron Fitt, Kendall Rogers, Mike Rooney, Kyle Peterson, all those guys on our airwaves. They do a great job. But there isn't like an official top 25. I mean, Baseball America, D1 Baseball, Perfect Game, National College Baseball Writers Association, our guys over at 11.7. There's so many different top 25 polls. So you don't live and die by what the top 25 poll says like you may do in other sports. You look at records, you look at strength of schedules. Again, you look at RPI, however that's calculated, and the eye test. So yeah, the committee that chose these teams to the regional sites, they don't make the top 25. There isn't a panel that votes on the top 25 on a weekly basis. That's the difference. So, it's Mark. It's certainly not a perfect system, but it's the one they've got in place.
Chris, in your heart of hearts, do you believe that the answer here is South Carolina has a proven ability to sell tickets?
I mean, I think certainly that factors into it. I mean, again, like I just said, the SEC brand, and I think South Carolina's brand as a college baseball blue blood. I mean, listen, Campbell, who is the 2 seed in this regional, they're going to come in obviously upset, chip on their shoulder, and vouch that they should have been a host. Guys, their home ballpark could not even hold enough people to where they'd be eligible for a host. They were going to have to do it at a minor league ballpark in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I mean, I think you would be naive to think that didn't hurt their chances.
Well, don't you think it's unfair, though, to take that away from a team that's earned it?
I mean, it's not, but is SEC bias in any of the sports fair? I mean, listen, the big dogs win, man. The rich get richer. It is what it is. So a lot of it's not fair, but we all know it's reality.
Do you, but Chris, do you know it's reality? I mean, I understand that the SEC, I see the SEC's dominance in football with my own eyes, right? I witness that on a week in, week out basis. All right. You, Chris, have somewhat successfully, along with our audience, have gotten me to pay attention to college softball, college baseball, etc. Series I watched last year, SEC's greatest team ever loses to Notre Dame. Okay, I'm watching the series as it's going on. Do you know that the SEC is as great as these overseedings would suggest?
Yes, the SEC is by far the best conference in all of college baseball. Now, do they deserve 8 regional hosts? I mean, again, you got an argument made there for Auburn, for South Carolina, but yeah, Mark, if we're just talking about is the SEC, are they deserving? Are they the best? The SEC is the best conference in college baseball. I think the SEC is more dominant in baseball than it is in football. I mean, I think it's that good. So to answer your question, yes, the SEC is that good. And you know, if the committee sat there and they weighed what South Carolina did, and hey, they didn't forget the first 40 games. Carolina looked like the number 1 team in the country, and they weighed that versus what a team like Campbell did, who is very, very good. But, you know, look at the competition. I mean, who did they play? And I understand it's baseball. I'm not trying to talk down on Campbell a couple of days before the regional because they could come in and spank South Carolina and make a point. But that's obviously what the committee looked at. And playing in the S, and it's to your point, it's not really fair in the sense of like all you can play is who's on your schedule. So like these smaller teams, they can't help it. All they can do is win. But the SEC teams are always going to get more benefit of the doubt. And so, yeah, if you're a 16, 17, whatever win team in the SEC, you're going to be looked at more favorably than, you know, a smaller team like, for example, like a Wofford, who's got to win basically their entire conference, win more than 20 conference games, and they're still not going to be hosting. You know what I mean? So, again, it's not fair, but the SEC bias is going to continue because they continue to dominate the College World Series in Omaha as well. Just look at the past champions.
So Chris, we always argue this, though, in March Madness. We argue this very point. We say March Madness is supposed to be for the little guy. It's not supposed to be, hey, man, let's put the 8th best team from the big conference in that had his chance against the big boys all year long and was mediocre. You know, I've got the the conference by, the field by conference, 10 teams from the SEC, 8 teams from the ACC. Chris, is this what we want the regionals to be? You know, isn't it supposed to be to give the little guy a chance? I mean, didn't Boston College and Virginia Tech and Kentucky and Tennessee, didn't they already have their chance? And channeling my inner Jurassic Park, nature selected them for extinction.
Well, I mean, those teams, though, are not hosting, right? They're just in. I mean, I get what you're saying about giving the little guy a chance, but I mean, you know, you look at the resumes of those teams. Those teams all deserve to be in the postseason. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I think they all deserve to be there. But I will say, you know, as funny as the game of baseball is, and we see upsets all over the place, I think in the game of baseball, you actually see the little guys having less success because in a 1-game sample size, I mean, yeah, the craziest of crazy upsets can happen, but that's why baseball is played in series and not played in 1-game sample sizes. And over the course of a series, typically the teams like the SEC teams, the ACC teams, I mean, look at Omaha, man. I mean, I think it's like 74% of the teams that have ever made it to Omaha historically since they started doing the regionals back in the late 90s, they've been those 1 seeds who have hosted. I mean, it's just typically the best teams are getting there and the best teams are coming from the SEC. I mean, I would expect, Mark, half of the field in Omaha to be from the SEC this year. You might even get over half of the field. So I get what you're saying about the little guys. And I mean, is the system perfect? Not necessarily. I mean, again, we're leaning on RPI, but, you know, I'm also not going to sit here and debate against like the SEC. And I mean, those are the best teams. I mean, they just are. So, like, I have no problem with 10 SEC teams making the field.
So do you consider the Gamecocks the favorite in their own regional?
I would say they are, yes. I know Campbell is a hot commodity right now, and a lot of people are going to look at the Camels, and, you know, they're going to be the sexy upset pick, you know, if you polled people across college baseball. But I still think you have to list South Carolina as the favorite. I know they didn't play well on the stretch, but a team that is getting healthy once again, you know, Braylon Wimmer's going to be back at shortstop. Cole Messina should be good to go. Will Sanders is ready to pitch out of the bullpen. They're as healthy as they've been since midseason. And yes, Mark, I think on their home field, I understand Campbell and what they've done this year, but I honestly, you know, and I'm about to go on a Campbell podcast right now. I look at their schedule, and they've done really well with who they've played, but I just still question, like, the quality of who they played. Then you got NC State, who is a below 500 ACC team in conference, and then Central Connecticut State, who won the Northeast Conference, and they had a good year, but, again, they played 3 games against SEC competition. I think they got outscored like 38-4 in those games. So I think South Carolina at home, they've got to be the favorite. They'll have the home crowd behind them. So, yes, I would list the Gamecocks as the betting favorite in the regional.
So let me ask you this, Chris. We had this topic on Friday's show, and I was like, why is March Madness so far ahead of college baseball? Whereas when I was growing up, Chris, when you're growing up, the World Series is outdrawing the NBA Finals, right? Then the NBA at some point kind of pulled even. But, like when I was a kid, the World Series was a lot closer to the Super Bowl in rating than the NBA Finals were to the World Series. And now then many years, the NBA Finals beats the World Series in ratings. So what happened? Well, it is nowhere close on the college side. March Madness destroys college baseball, and I can attach numbers to that. I can quantify that. The Final Four typically gets a rating of a 10. The College Baseball World Series gets a rating of a 1. 10 times better. I think the college baseball postseason is fantastic. I think that March Madness has just done a much better job marketing itself to the point where people that know nothing about the sport are all doing brackets in their office. If you don't care about, if your team isn't in the college baseball regional, nobody cares. If your team isn't in. And then, Chris, I look at this to further illustrate this point, okay? Clemson's first game is not on network TV. South Carolina's first game is not on network TV. Now imagine for a moment, okay, we got March Madness games. Clemson, South Carolina are playing in the tournament. You can't find them on TV anywhere. Can you imagine the uproar for that? That, like, you see the problem, right, Chris? I know that you love college baseball, but Clemson hosting a regional is on a plus streaming service. South Carolina hosting a regional is on a plus streaming service. Chris, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Mark. It's severely undermarketed, and it's also severely under-televised. And when you asked me the question, I was going to tell you, well, Mark, how many games do you see that are on TV this weekend? I mean, there's maybe a handful. I mean, like you just mentioned, I mean, it's crazy. Clemson's not even on TV on Friday, and they're hosting the regional, yet Tennessee and Charlotte is on ESPNU that same night at 6 o'clock. How does that make any sense? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I mean, it's severely under-televised. I know you can't televise every single regional. I understand it because there's so many. But to your point, too, you make a great point about the bracket challenge and getting people involved who are the casual fans. Right? I think that's how you really drive up numbers, is keeping the casuals involved. And baseball just, it feels like a diehard sport. I mean, like you mentioned, if your team's not in it, you feel like you have no reason to watch, whereas there's so many people who tune in to March Madness. I mean, right? Gamecock fans tune in every year, and we never go. So, I mean, just call it what it is. But there's so many fan bases that are the exact same way. So how do you get people engaged? I love it. You're right, Mark. I love the college baseball postseason. I think it's awesome. I mean, all weekend long, there's going to be so much great baseball on, so many games, but it's under-marketed. It's under-televised, and until that changes, I don't think you'll see those ratings change anytime soon.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Chris. There's so many games in March Madness too, and I realize this is double elimination, but they find a way to televise all those. So let's end with some predictions here. Does Clemson make it out of its regional?
No, I got Tennessee.
I'm shocked about that, Chris. Does South Carolina make it out of its regional?
I will go with the Gamecocks.
What a shock! What a shock! Does Coastal Carolina make it out of their regional?
Yes, I'll go Coastal. Yep.
Okay.
I think they'll make it out.
And then naturally, you have the Gamecocks making it to Omaha, right?
You're
going to play. You're playing the Florida. You're playing Florida.
Playing the Supers, man. Is Florida going to make it out of their own regional? That's the question we should be asking.
Yeah. Okay. So you got Coastal making out of the regional. You got South Carolina making out of the regional. You got Clemson going home. Chris, I'll tell you, I think this is every bit March Madness is equal in terms of the uniqueness and the fun of the format. And I'll never understand for the life of me why March Madness has become the it event, and this one is swept under the rug. A 10 rating share to a 1. Makes no sense whatsoever. Hey, Chris, great catching up with you, bud. I look forward to joining you later in the week on the Daily Crow.
Mark Diesel, appreciate you guys. Thanks so much, Mark. Y'all take care.
All right, take care. Coming up next on the show, I had the worst beach experience of my life yesterday. I'm going to tell you about it. Plus, I've got the brand new, sparkling, off the presses Athlon College Football Preview Magazine. I'll hit you with 10 things that stood out to me upon first glance. That's next. This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 p.m. Excited to have you guys with us. Know there's a ton of choices out there. Truly do appreciate you making us part of your afternoon, given all the choices that you have out there, man. Tons to get to in this hour, and a lot of interaction with you. Still asking you guys, who is the first Power 5 coach that's going to lose their job in 2023? Folks, last Wednesday for my birthday, we were out at the Ingalls and Boiling Springs. Turnout was fantastic. Truly appreciate everyone who stopped by. Meant the world to me. I wish for a day that everyone could feel as special as you guys make me feel whenever we're out on location, and especially last week, it being my birthday. That was never more apparent. But also on my birthday, I asked you guys for advice. I said, look, we're looking to take a little beach trip this weekend. I haven't made many beach trips during my stay here in the Carolinas. There's a couple reasons for that, right? The pandemic, etc. But part of it is like I'm kind of a Florida beach snob, right?
And all anybody around here ever does is trash South Carolina beaches.
That's right.
All anybody, don't go to Myrtle Beach. It sucks. Don't go to this beach. It's crowded. Don't go to that beach. All anyone ever does is bash it.
So I have a couple of things to share with you here. If you were one of the ones that recommended the beach that we went to, okay, I'm throwing sharp, pointy objects at you right now with my eyes, okay? If you were one of the people that recommended a different beach than the one we went to, you very much have an I told you so on me, okay? Because we took a recommendation. We were watching YouTube videos, best beaches to go to in South Carolina ranked. I asked about it on the show. We got a lot of feedback on the show, where to go to. And we ended up going to Sullivan's Island, and it was awful. It was freaking awful. Like I'll just describe to you the time breakdown of the day, okay? And you'll be able to know exactly how crappy the day was, okay? We got up at 9 a.m. yesterday morning, left the house at 10 a.m., drove 3 hours and 20 minutes. We pull in at 1:20. Okay, we're on the beach at 1:30. Back in the car at 3:15, home by 7. Okay, that was the day. Like, we literally had a 10-hour day in which we were driving for 6.5 hours. Okay, and we
Sounds
had
terrible.
We had 2 hours at the beach, and it was awful. Now I'm going to give you the increasing reasons of severity why Sullivan's Island was not for us. Okay. Number one, it was a very narrow beach, Diesel. Like, so it's not a lot of sand before you hit the water. Very narrow.
Like a big rock wall type thing.
It was just kind of like very narrow. There's not, it's not as wide of a football field in terms of the sand. It's very narrow before you hit the water. Number two, just jammed with people. Jammed. Like, people said, oh, go to Sullivan's Island. It's not as packed. What? It was one of those where you're like, you've lugged all your stuff for 300 yards. Your arms are tired. You can't find a place to put your stuff down. Number three, the sand was like mud. It wasn't the color of sand. It was gnarly. It was like muddy sand. Number four, there were no waves to speak of. Okay. Number five, not that there's anything wrong with this, but it was a very college 20-something scene with very little families. And we I didn't know that's what we were getting into there.
Sounds like there were some scenic views though.
And number six, Diesel, so we started chatting with people that were, how far away is this beach? We were told we parked right at the beach. How far away? We're walking on this boardwalk for days. We got all our stuff. We're walking with these people. We start chatting with these people. We put our stuff down next to them. Okay. 45 minutes later, Diesel, they get an alcohol citation. The people next to us get an alcohol citation from these rent-a-cops riding down the beach in a four-wheeler. Okay. And the guy who wrote the citation was like 20 years nothing. It's like a buck nothing, 20 nothing. And they're like, what do we do wrong? They're like, you're not allowed to have alcohol on the beach. I get up and I go over there and I'm like, what do they do? They have alcohol. They have an open container. You can't do that in Charleston County. And so I say, like, we walked together. Did you see any sign that said that? I didn't see any sign. Did you see any sign? They said, no. I said, well, why don't you come with us and see the sign? They're like, we don't have time for that. Here's your citation. They gave it to the people next to us. And I asked how much it was, $260, Diesel.
Oof.
Okay. And meanwhile, everyone to the left and right, except for Angela and I, in the presence of Jackson, everyone to the left and right had their containers.
Yeah.
But they had the can inside of like a tumbler.
It couldn't be visible.
Inside of a tumbler,
Yeah.
but you could see like the can sticking out.
Yeah.
So it's like, what? Like what? Like 45 minutes after we got here, the people we walked on the boardwalk with.
This is when you like rent a cops. You got to be cool. You got to say, hey guys, here's our policy. This is a warning. We're going to come back here in about a half an hour. Don't want to see beer cans. I don't want to see beer bottles. If we see it, we got to write you a citation. You can go right over there to the store and buy the little can koozies. That's acceptable. That's fine. You got to do it that way. You can't make this such an environment where, first warning, $250 fine. It's ridiculous.
Warning. Yeah, there is no warning. $260. And
Ridiculous.
like, I was actually getting more upset than the people who were getting the citation. Like, I'm like, what is your problem, man? Like, we just got here and like, there was no sign. And then when we walked back, when we left, Diesel, we retraced our exact steps to the beach. There's no sign anywhere that says you can't have a drink on the beach. No sign anywhere. So these rent-a-cops are driving up, giving people $260 fines when literally everyone out there has a drink. Okay. The sand is muddy looking and muddy Constitution. There's no waves. It's a very thin beach that's jammed with people. I don't know why, because the beach sucked. Okay. And then, Diesel, this happened. What time do you usually expect high tide, Diesel? What time do you usually expect that?
Well, it changes every day, but you expect high tide in the evening, sometime around sundown.
All right. So we've got our blankets. Out of nowhere, Diesel, out of nowhere, wave comes, soaks the whole blanket. Okay. So we're laying on
look
blankets.
up to see what time high tide was?
My whole life, it's been what you just said.
You can Google that information.
Yeah.
And it moves a little bit every day. It's not on an exact timer.
Guess what time it was? 3:20.
Yeah.
I've never seen it at 3:20 before. Okay. So we're sitting there and like you're trying to fall asleep, and I'm still annoyed that the people next to us got this citation. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't really what we had in mind. And then we get drenched. And like, we didn't have chairs, we had towels. So the towels we had are now all wet and muddy, and like we could hear some of the 20-somethings laughing at us as we got splashed, and it's just like, this whole thing sucks, like the environment sucks. Everyone being packed in here like sardines sucks. The color of the sand being like mud sucks. The fact that there's no waves, so you can't surf or boogie board or anything you want to do because there's no waves, sucked. The whole experience sucked. Okay, freaking sucked. All right, Sullivan's Island, Sullivan, you suck. Everyone affiliated with that whole place, like it was the worst beach experience of my entire freaking life. Okay, it was awful, and we will never. Like, Jackson is 5 years old. And Jackson is going back saying, I never want to go to this beach again. I never want to go to this beach again. He's 5.
Sounds like you got some crap advice.
Like, yeah, seriously, guys. Okay, seriously. So, number one, if you guys were one of the people that recommended Sullivan's Island, and I'm going to scroll back here and find you people. Okay, I'm going to find you people, and I'm coming after you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not really coming after you, but we're no longer friends. Okay, if you recommended Sullivan's Island. It was like Suckitude Island, man. It was awful. And I can't put it to you any other way. I don't know why there were so many people out there. And all I can tell you is I don't know how anyone out there didn't have the exact same experience that I did. Like, you're not allowed to have a drink. The sand is muddy. There's no waves, jammed with people. It's a very thin area of sand. It just sucked. That's all I can tell you.
Hey, it's better than the time I was at Deerfield Beach in Florida where I saw a lady giving her husband a little happy ending on the beach.
Yeah. Oh,
he was
God.
sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
Full view of everyone. She was sitting on the ground right at his feet, hand up his shorts.
No.
Doing you know what?
No.
Right there in broad daylight.
No. Could go without that. Texter says, we always go to Folly Beach. Yeah, we did not. That was a mistake.
Myrtle Beach sounds a lot better than this crap hole you went to.
Sucks. Never go there, Diesel. Sullivan's Island. Never go there. Texter says, Mark, if you would have just turned left after going over the bridge to Sullivan's Island, you would have been on Isle of Palms. Not super great, but way better than Sullivan's. Texter says, no alcohol on any beach in Charleston. Is that Charleston? Thank the out-of-town spring breakers from 3 to 4 years ago. Well, okay, so we saw the people that we walked down the boardwalk with get a citation. And then we saw a people about 50 feet to the right of us get a citation. No warning. No warning. Hey, I'm going to need you to pour that out. Nothing. They just have to pay money. Texter says, problem number one, who leaves for a day beach trip at 9 a.m. when you know you won't even get there till after 12 and have to come back? But yeah, I agree with you on Sullivan's. Texter, the weather didn't cooperate. Like we promised the kid we're going to take a beach trip this weekend and tended to make it 2 days. Like, what the hell? Like, I also have a beef with Mother Nature. Why does Mother Nature at the end of May decide she's going to drop low 60s and rain on us? It's the end of May, for crying out loud. So, to keep the promise to the kid, we had to do the day trip, which would have been fine, right? You drive 3 hours, you have 5 or 6 hours there, you drive 3 hours back, except Sullivan's. It's the worst, literally the worst beach experience of my entire life. Texter says, next time, take the 4-hour drive. And trust me, we want to make it a 2 or 3 day trip. We wanted to. Next time, take the 4-hour drive down to Tybee Island, small beach, no over-the-top condos, cool family atmosphere, cool little boardwalk and Main Street area. Tybee Island. I'm writing it down, Texter. Writing it down. Was Sullivan's Island on the top beaches in the state on YouTube? No, it wasn't, Texter. I'm so glad you mentioned that. I saw 2. They both had the same beach that was tops, and it was Kiowa. And the only reason I didn't go is because everyone said it was expensive AF. Okay, that's the only reason I didn't go there. Leave at 7 a.m. and go to Pawleys Island, a texter says.
Yeah, but if you're going to sit on the beach all day, you're not spending any money, are you? So what difference does it make which beach you go to?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, man. That's absolutely true. So there you go. 71307 on the text line is where to go. Diesel, yeah, you're right. Why didn't we just go to Kiowa? Because everyone said, oh, it's so expensive and there's no beach vibe. And we just I don't know, man. I don't know. All I can tell you guys is I feel like the ultimate Florida beach snob now because I haven't been to many beaches here, and I feel like kind of not wanting to go back.
No, it's a serious dumbass policy to have no alcohol on the beach. What the texter said sounds like, one group of bad apples had to ruin it for everybody, and it changes their policy, and it makes you jump through all these hoops to make it happen, to be able to do it. But come on. Who doesn't want to have a beer on the beach?
This Rent-A-Cop, Diesel, goes, there's signs everywhere. Diesel, we walked the whole thing back. Just the 3 of us. Those people stayed. I have no idea why. And there was not a single sign. There was not a single sign anywhere. Okay? There's no sign saying, beware, throw your bottles away. And so the fact that the combination of, number one, you can't have a drink on the beach. Number 2, there's no signs anywhere on the beach. And then number 3, they don't even give you a warning. They don't even give you a freaking warning. The hell out of here. As in, we are the hell out of here. Good God. I second Folly Beach of Tybee Island. Is that supposed to say Folly Beach or Tybee Island? Are Folly Beach and Tybee Island the same thing? Anyway, guys, that was my experience. You can't hit them all out of the park, right? Mama said there'd be days like this from time to time, right? That was yesterday. At least we were back by 7 p.m. and at least had the evening back. And there's 8 gallons of mud in Angela's car now that somehow have to be vacuumed out. But that was our day. That was our day. Never again, my friends. Never again. Let's see here. Mark, I thought you said there weren't any waves. Apparently there was one. Yeah, they made waves, man. Pissed me off. Let's see here. Texter says, Mark, after going to Volano Beach near St. Augustine last summer for vacation, I can see why you, Mark, are a Florida beach snob. No South Carolina beach compares. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Mark, I think my current beach situation has your worst beach trip beat. I'll have to tell you about it in another day. So says Just tell us about this. What is going on?
Well, we got Dan B, the other half of this equation, messaging in on the YouTube stream. It says Jess and I are having just as bad a beach experience this week. Resort has 3 pools and a hot tub all closed due to lack of inspection. Seriously, Memorial weekend.
And like, you shouldn't pay for that hotel. Like, what sort of courtesies are they giving you, given that all the amenities are closed? You know, like, just
it feels like one of the first things they should tell you when you're booking this hotel is just so you know, our hot tubs and our swimming pools are not open right now because of lack of inspection.
It's unbelievable. And then Diesel, it's like I say to the people next to us, I'm like, where did you get this drink that you have? And they pointed across the street. I could see the place where they got the drink. It was a convenience store. So the convenience store on the beach sells them the alcohol that then gets them a citation when they cross the street. Okay, where were they from? Georgia. Where are we from? Greenville. They don't. Nobody warns us. Nobody warns anybody. The hell with this place, man. I'm getting so worked up even talking about this. I'm so pissed off. Anyway, guys, Sullivan's Island sucks. I'm Mark Ryan. I approve this message. I'll be back after this to tell you some findings. Please help me change the subject now because I'm having a hard time getting off of this. Okay? Really hard time getting off of this. Pisses me the hell off. It's Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the fan upstate. Sullivan's Beach sucks. Awful. Folly Beach of Tybee Island. Are those the same thing, Diesel, or different things?
Well,
is it Folly Beach or Tybee Island?
Well, Tybee Island is an island. Folly is the beach. It's not Folly Island. It's Folly Beach.
And it's on Tybee Island?
I guess. I don't know.
Is that true? Okay. Texter says, Mark, Mark, have you ever been to Anna Maria Island in Florida? Yes. My first Florida beach trip is this summer to Anna Maria Island. Texter, you're going to love it. It's going to be a fantastic time. You'll never go to any of these beaches ever again, but I don't want to give South Carolina beaches a bad name without me venturing on and exploring more.
Come on, where's Henry McMaster to fix this?
Exactly right.
Henry McFoghorn Leghorn.
Because he sure as hell isn't fixing the roads anytime soon. Texter says, Mark, go to Sunset Beach in North Carolina. Only 30 minutes north of Myrtle Beach. Beautiful white sand with huge areas to set up. You'll love it. So says Landon from Spartanburg. Appreciate it, Landon. Thank you very much for cluing us into that. Texter says, Mark, Tybee is in Georgia. Folly Beach is in South Carolina. Tybee or Folly? That's where they're saying we've got to go. Okay, we got to go to Folly or Tybee, one of the two. We will do just that, man. We will do just that. Sullivan's never again. Never again. And what stinks about it is, like, you wasted 9 hours of, like, a holiday weekend. You know what I mean? It's like 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. wasted, because we picked the wrong beach to go to. And it's really hard to kind of know in advance, ahead of time, how bad it is, right? So let's get to Rich in Chicago, who wants to chime in next on the show. Hey, Rich, great to hear from you, buddy. Rich is a listener on the national show on CBS Sports Radio. Rich, I'm excited to be back on this Saturday from 5 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, my friend. We'll talk to you then. What's good?
Yeah, we'll have something to talk about it. That's the reason I was calling you about the topic. I told your producer the college playoffs. Given that there's 10 SEC teams and you got 3 or 4 from South Carolina in, I thought it was interesting that the SEC got 10 teams in. Some of which are a little shaky, but nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn had a record of 34, 21, and 1. It's just like, is that, again, do we want the tournament, March Madness? Do we want college baseball, the postseason, to be rewarding the 9th best team in a power league? Or do you want to give the little guy a chance, the 1st or 2nd best team in a league that doesn't get all the love? If you were 9th place over the course of the regular season, are you really going to go win the national championship? Come on now.
I couldn't agree more. If you want to make it really, an interesting tournament like the NCAA, everybody, starts getting behind the little guy, just like Florida Atlantic this past year. Once they advance, they develop a big fan base. But here are the odds. The reason I was calling is exactly that point. You think Auburn's bad. How about Alabama's in?
Right. No, they were the last team that got to host a regional, and South Carolina is 5-13 over the last month. 5-13 is their record over the last month. Come on, man. Yep. They're not in the top 25 in any college baseball poll, yet they get the 15th overall seed based on what?
Mark and Rich, I can confirm to you, being here in 2016 when Coastal Carolina, then at the time still an FCS team in football, but from a much smaller conference, went on their run and they won the national championship. Just how infectious it was to have a mid-major program, a small program like that, go out and win the whole damn thing. It was fantastic, and it's going to remove those opportunities if you leave more and more of those small but elite small teams out.
Well, let me tell you why they're not respected. This is part of the call. I went and took a look at, since I like wagering on sports, what the odds were to win it all in Omaha. Now, this isn't to advance or to win the Super Region, but just to win it all. And I'll start with the Carolina schools. This may surprise you. Coastal is in it this year. They're in the tournament. How about this? You can bet them, which I might do for a very small wager, at 50-1.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Which
look,
is not-
right. I
So
think
hold on,
Clemson. Yeah, I think Clemson is probably a really good bet. You know, they're
Yeah,
the
Clemson.
hottest team in America right now.
I have them as my top 4 picks. It's interesting that you pointed that out. I took the 10 SEC, and I took Clemson, Coastal, and Wofford just to look at the odds. Wofford's even better. How would you like to have 400 to 1?
It's brutal. Absolutely
400 to
brutal.
1?
Yeah.
I mean, you could bet $10, right, for $4,000.
Guess what the Miami Heat's odds were of winning the NBA title when the playoffs began?
When they started,
Yeah.
well, they were a playing team. I'd put them at 30 to 1.
300 to 1.
Wow.
300 to 1
And now look,
odds
yeah.
to win the NBA championship when the playoffs began. You wish you sprinkled a little bit on that one, huh, Rich? Hey, buddy, we'll talk to you on Saturday, okay?
Yeah, I want to give real quick, though, the top 4 plays, just so you know, because one of them was Clemson. I actually am down on these 4. The Gators are 9 to 1. LSU is 8 to 1. Vandy's 12 to 1. Those 3 of my SEC teams. And I took Clemson to 25 to 1. And here's the deal. If you bet all 4 at nominal amounts, if one of those 4 wins, you can win anywhere from $300 to $1,100 if only one wins, including your wagers on the 4.
There you go. Hey, Rich, appreciate the call, bud. We'll talk to you on Saturday. Always great to hear from you here on the show. So, guys, I wanted to bounce some of this off of you. I got the Athlon College Football Preview magazine yesterday, and I was telling Diesel this: you pay more for these magazines, and you get less. Used to be like every team in the SEC, you had a full 2 or 3 pages on. Now every team in the SEC gets 1 page, literally 1 page, not front and back, 1 page, one side. Then you get to like the Fun Belt or the Sun Belt, and it's 2 teams per 1 page. You know, you only get the verdict on those teams, and that's all they give you. But I was wanting to kind of pour over this and kind of find some of the things that I thought were interesting from the College Football Preview magazine. I think Athlon is dead on the Florida Gators this year, and it's not good. It's not positive. They have the Gators as the number 49 team in America. They say the Gators' record overall this year is going to be 5-7. And I've been telling you guys that I think this is the year that Florida kind of implodes. You know, the roster talent just isn't there. You're going to be hearing a lot of Gator fans say that Billy Napier isn't the right guy. He may or may not be the right guy, but you're not going to be able to know it from this year. Okay, you're just not.
Man, you hate to see it.
I know.
Yeah, you hate to see. You hate to see a program with all those advantages just suck so badly.
I'll tell you, Diesel, Mullen didn't recruit. He didn't recruit. And now is the time when you're paying the price tag for the lack of recruitment. And I know you feel deeply sorry for us at Florida. I know you're all broken up about what's coming to us this year. But let me tell you, man, I think they're dead on. I think they are dead on with what they're saying about Florida this year.
Do they just put an image of a dumpster fire next to Washington State? You know, with all the reports coming out last week that Washington State was cutting back so much on all of their recruiting trips and all the different recruiting tools that they used, and it's like, man, when they don't know where their next meal is coming from, things are going to go awry there really quickly.
That's what they say. They have Florida going 5-7, 3-5 in the SEC with 2 more losses to Florida State and Utah in the non-conference. Number 2, they've got Clemson outside of the top 10 at number 12, which I thought was interesting. When's the last time you saw Clemson start a season where they end seasons in bad seasons for Clemson, right? So they have them outside the top 10. They've got the Gamecocks number 31. You heard me say last week that I think Shane Beamer is going to start a string of consecutive top 25 finishes. So I have South Carolina a little bit better than they do. They have the Gamecocks 7-5 overall. 7-5 overall, but number 31 in the country. And they say that the Gamecocks' record is going to be 4-4 in the SEC. 4th place in the SEC East, though, which is not going to make Gamecock fans happy. They've got Kentucky 3rd, Tennessee 2nd, Georgia 1st. Number 3. I can establish this. We can now establish this, okay? Clemson is DLU. Clemson is Defensive Line University, all right? But Ohio State is wide receiver U. And at this point, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it, folks. Ohio State is wide receiver U. On the first team All-American offense, there's not one but 2 Buckeye wide receivers on there. Marvin Harrison Jr., who is going to be a top 5 pick next year, and Emeka Egbuka. They just keep reloading, man, these top wideouts. Number 4, let's see here. No, this is number 5. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is a first-team All-American. Barrett Carter Jr. is a second-team All-American, linebacker at Clemson. Will Shipley is second-team All-American. Tyler Davis is second-team All-American. So Clemson on the All-American teams, first, second, and third, they've got 4 players on the first 2 All-American teams. South Carolina only has 1. It is Kai Kroger, who is your first-team All-American punter. Next observation that I have is that you're not running on Clemson. Okay, according to the unit rankings, all right, the unit rankings here that are across America, Clemson has the number 2 defensive line in the country and the number 3 linebacker unit in America. You're not running on Clemson, period. But Diesel, you know what kills me? Listen to this. They got, who's the number 1 team on the outside here, Diesel?
Biggest image is
the number
Clemson.
1 team. Right there.
Georgia.
Number 1 team is Georgia. There has not been a three-peat since 1936. Mm-hmm. Since the AP poll era, there's never been a three-peat. They're predicting a three-peat. Diesel, best defensive line in America, Georgia. Best linebackers in America, Georgia. Best defensive backs in America, Georgia. They're the best unit on all 3 units of defense. You kidding me? Best offensive line in America, Georgia. 7th best running backs in America. 4th best wide receivers in America.
Yeah.
The only unit that is not in the top 10 is the quarterback because Stetson Bennett left.
Well, what's going to be interesting about that is, everybody talks about Georgia's weak sauce schedule this year. Is that going to prepare them for the college football playoff? I mean, they may not be tested until the college football playoff. So, yeah, you can have an on-paper elite defense in the way that Georgia does. But are you playing soft offenses week in and week out for an entire season set them up poorly to compete in the college football playoff? Madcraft here. No, Trey Davis here. Mark has a hypothetical question for you on the YouTube channel. By the way, at YouTube, at the Fan Upstate on YouTube is where you can find us. It's where you can subscribe to us. It's where you can click the bell notification so that every day when we go live, you get that notification sent right to your phone. He says, here's a hypothetical. It's been said that Billy Napier would have been a home run hire for South Carolina. I agree with Trey Davis. I wanted Billy Napier for the job. Would Mark take Shane Beamer at Florida with all his recruiting abilities, or would you stick with Billy Napier?
Hell of a question.
Great question.
I would stick with Napier because, Diesel, I at least have because you're asking me, I can, for any reason I want. Shane Beamer and I have a little beef with each other.
Sure.
Okay. So that's one reason, Diesel. Number 2 is I at least have the experience of knowing what Billy Napier did at Louisiana. Right. This is the only experience I have. And so, honestly, guys, you don't know conclusively that Beamer is anything more than a flash in the pan at this point. That's not a knock on him. It's the only evidence you have. Right? You have a one-hit wonder. That is all you have. And so that's what makes this year so fascinating. The difference between Chubbawamba and Pearl Jam is Pearl Jam has 30 great songs. Chubbawamba has 1, right? That's the problem. So, we get to see if Shane Beamer is a multi-platinum recording artist or if he's a one-hit wonder. Let's get to John Kruger, who is up next on the show. Hey, John, appreciate the call. You're Offsides.
Hey, how y'all?
Good, bud.
Good. Yeah. I would counter. Y'all just. I was listening to y'all talking about Beamer and Napier. I would counter. Saying some people might take Napier at Carolina. Well, I personally would not, because I think I would speak for everybody that we're more than happy with Beamer, because Napier. Look, I'm sure Napier's a good head coach, but Billy, Sunbelt Billy, as we call him, this ain't the Sunbelt.
Yeah, but he's got more experience.
SEC.
He's got more experience than Beamer. And the reality is, John, we don't know if Beamer's the long-term answer at South Carolina. You have a good feeling, but you don't know. Just like we don't know that Billy Napier's the long-term answer at Florida, right? Now, you've got a little bit better feeling than Florida fans do right now, because it's 1 year versus 2, right? But that's all you have. That's all you know at this point. What else do you want to get to on the baseball front?
Yeah, I just, I have my look. I called in last week. I had my skepticism about this baseball team, but like I told you, Mark, last week, I'm a realist as well. I want to win in this postseason as much as the next person. I'd rather win to get that head coach, even though I don't think Mark Kingston's the right guy for this job. But I'm Mark. I freaking swear. I don't think it'll happen, but I freaking swear. If you lose in your freaking regional this weekend, you think the uproar was bad?
Okay, so John, riddle me this, okay? If South Carolina does not make it out of their regional, should they make a coaching change?
Mm-hmm. Are you asking if I think we should?
I would agree with that. Just making the regional.
That's what I'm saying.
To a program with that history, with a program with that history, you make a change if you don't make it out of your region.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you make a change this weekend, because it's super regionals and buzz. I think that's what most people said coming into the season was we got to make it to super this year to save his job.
You got it right. Hey, John, great to hear from you, bud. Thanks so much for ringing us up. Always good to hear from you. $1 million question to ask you about the NBA is coming next here on Offsides, the Fan Upstate. What's good, my friends? It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the fan upstate. So I was paying very, very close attention to the Boston-Miami series, and I was rooting for the Heat. And, you consider underdog stories in sports, and I've got a couple questions for you about that series. Who do you consider a bigger underdog story? Is it Boston, who was attempting to become the first team ever to come back from 0-3? The record is now 0-151 because Miami won Game 7 last night? Or was it the Heat, who had 300-1 odds to win the NBA championship when the playoffs began? 300-1. Remember in 2017, Leicester City won the EPL. Their odds were 5,000-1 to start the year. 300-1 odds, and they're in the NBA Finals right now. I don't know, man. I found I don't root for the silver spoon kid who, gets spoiled and doesn't try hard and jacks up a bunch of threes. That's Boston to me. I'm not rooting for them. I like to see them fall on their face, right? Miami has 4 guys who are averaging 60 points a game when you combine them all together, 4 players that are undrafted. Miami plays 8 players. 4 of them are undrafted. Now, remember that the hit rate of second-round picks is 1%. 1% of second-round picks become stars. These guys weren't even that, okay? Weren't even that. Vincent and Caleb Martin and Duncan Robinson. These guys are incredible, like what they're doing and what they've done on this team. So I was big time on Miami. I will ask you this, all right? Let's say you're a Boston Celtics fan. Would you rather lose like that, force it all the way to Game 7 and lose, or just get swept, which they were losing by 6 points, Diesel, at halftime of Game 4.
Yeah.
So they're already down 3-0, halftime of Game 4. All they got to do is continue to do what they do. They get swept.
I got to get to Game 7. I want to get to Game 7. I want that excitement for my fan base. I want all the media attention on my team. Even if you don't win, you showed an incredible amount of fight. I mean, think about how much it would suck to go through an entire offseason after getting swept in a series like that. How much would that suck to be in that locker room? Like, we got swept. We got swept to end the season. We suck. We don't have it. We're missing major pieces. Or, man, we came really close to completing the down 0-3 comeback.
They're supposed to beat them, though. Like the ESPN analytics, Diesel, we talk about this. 97% chance Boston was going to win that series. 97.
The only way is maybe you could use that as leverage on a salary cap and say, look, we got to get rid of this guy because clearly we're missing pieces. And with that kind of down 0-3 get swept mentality, you could say, all right, we're just going to move on from so-and-so and recoup his money on the cap hit or trade somebody or make moves. That's a tough one. But I think you got to go. You got to take it to 7.
Yeah, the question is to you as the fan, right? As the Celtics fan, not the players. Obviously, the players want to go to Game 7, right? But if you're a fan, like, what hurts worse? To be swept or to make it all the way to Game 7 and then still not get it done? It's just brutal. And they weren't really competitive at all the entire game. And it's like, oh, it would have been different if Jason Tatum didn't sprain his ankle. Maybe it would have been closer, but I still think Miami would have won. And how about Miami losing the Game 6 on a tip-in at the buzzer? All right. And having the testicular fortitude to bring it in Game 7 when, for all intents and purposes, they had won the game. They had won the series. It's Look, I know that in this area, many of you guys look at the NBA as a bunch of silver spoon spoiled brats. Miami's the team for you to root for. Miami's the team that is blue collar, that is busting their hump, that is undrafted, that is just doing everything they can as a bunch of lower paid guys to make names for themselves. And I love that. We've got the top 5 at 5 coming your way next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. What is good, my beautiful babies? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 p.m. Realize, acknowledge that you guys have a ton of choices out there. Truly do appreciate you making us part of your afternoon. Means a lot to us. We will never take you for granted. In this hour, it's the most egregious example of helmet scouting I have ever seen. And we've got onsides and offsides, and we have you here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere, 71307 on the text line to start your text with the word fan. Sending the text to that number, 71307, and away you go on the show. Also, you can give us a ring at 844-326-3663. Hello to all of our YouTube viewers as well. Please do, if you would be so kind. Follow us on Twitter at The Fan Upstate. Like us on Facebook at The Fan Upstate. And subscribe to us on YouTube at The Fan Upstate. Very consistent. Very consistent. That's what we do here on the show. All right. It is time for us to do that jam. We call it the Top 5 at 5. The top 5 biggest sports stories of the day. The top 5 topics we're discussing. Ladies and gentlemen of the Upstate, Offsiders, the Top 5 at 5 starts right now.
And now, the Top 5 at 5.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hit it.
5.
So I got this handy-dandy Athlon College Football Preview Magazine, and I wanted to share with you some of the things that stood out to us. I've gotten to some of these, but not all, and I'll reset them for you here. Florida is number 49 in the magazine. The Gators, number 49 team. Athlon predicts, as I do, that the Gators kind of implode this year. They say the Gators are going to finish 5-7. I could very well see that being the case. Number 2, Clemson is not in the top 10 to start the year, coming at number 12. Interestingly, this is also Athlon's prediction of how the season is going to end. So they predict that Clemson is going to have a disappointing season. They've got the Gamecocks number 31. You heard me last week say I think Shane Beamer is about to enter on a run of consecutive top 25 finishes. I think South Carolina will be a bit better than this. There's no doubt about it. Ohio State is now wide receiver U. Clemson is DLU, but Ohio State has claimed wide receiver U from Clemson. You know, you look at the preseason first-team All-American team. Ohio State has not one but 2 wide receivers again on this list. How many straight years have they had the best wide receivers? Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka this year are the guys. Number 4, in terms of being on the All-American teams, here is the Clemson representation. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., first-team All-American linebacker. Barrett Carter, second-team All-American linebacker. Tyler Davis, second-team All-American defensive lineman. Will Shipley, second-team All-American running back. Not bad from Clemson. South Carolina has 1 entry, but it is punter Kai Kroger, your first-team All-American punter. Other observations that I have for you here. It's going to be no running on Clemson in 2023. The Tigers have the nation's second-best defensive line and third-best linebacking core. Good luck running against that front seven. Next up on this list, Georgia. This is so depressing if you want Georgia to fall flat on their face, which I do. Georgia is number 1 in America on all 3 defensive units. Are you kidding me? Georgia's got the best defensive line in America, according to Athlon, the best linebackers in the country, according to Athlon, and the best defensive backs in the country, according to Athlon. Oh, by the way, they've also got the best offensive line in America, the 4th best wide receivers, and the 7th best running backs in America. Only unit they're not in the top 10 in is the one that could get them beat, quarterback. No more Stetson Bennett. Right there.
That's the most important player on the field. You don't have it, you're in rough shape.
We will see.
We have seen we've seen Alabama teams go out and win a national championship with a game manager as a quarterback. So It's not absolutely necessary that Georgia has a lights out quarterback to go win a third.
You know, it is interesting, Diesel. When you look at kind of the SEC preview here, they've got your SEC, they've got your predicted order of finish. I'm seeing it here. It doesn't look pretty for the Gators. And then they've got your first team, second team, third team, all SEC players. Is Spencer Rattler your first team SEC quarterback? He is not. Is Spencer Rattler your second team SEC quarterback? He is not. Is Spencer Rattler your third team SEC quarterback? He is not. Georgia has the 8th best quarterback in the league. Alabama is 10th. Out of 14 teams? When's the last time you've seen that? Right? Don't worry, Florida's second to last in that category, and Florida's pretty much awful in every defensive category here. But Spencer Rattler and the Gamecocks quarterbacks are ranked as the 4th best quarterbacks in the SEC. Rattler is behind KJ Jefferson, Will Rogers at Mississippi State, and Jaden Daniels at LSU. Then you look at where they have the Gamecocks in terms of the unit rankings. 4th at quarterback, that's good. 13th at running back, that's bad. 7th at running back, that's okay. Defensively, 12th best offensive line out of 14 teams. 13th best defensive line. 13th best linebackers. Ouch. So essentially, you got no line play. No line play. Not an O-line, no line. 12th out of 14 on the O-line, 13th out of 14 on the D-line. And Athlon Sports is Florida State back. Folks, you look at this ACC page here, they've got Florida State first or second in every single ACC unit ranking. First or second. All right? Clemson can't even say that. Clemson is 3rd at quarterback, 4th at wide receivers, 4th at offensive line. Florida State is 2nd or 1st at everything. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, O-line, D-line, linebacker, defensive backs, 1st or 2nd at everything. Are they back? I say no, but it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. They've got Florida State winning the ACC with a record of 11-2 overall, 7-1 in ACC play. Clemson 2nd and going to the ACC championship game. Next up,
4.
At number 4 today, we open the show by asking you which hot seat coach is going to be the first to be fired from the Power 5 this year. We're asking you to put your prediction cap on, my friends. Who's it going to be? Could it be Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern, who had this weird thing going for a number of years where every even year he was great and every odd year he sucked, and now all of a sudden Northwestern just sucks every year? Is he the first one to go? Jimbo Fisher. Well, what if Texas A&M is not in the top 25 again with all they've invested in that program, all they've paid their athletes to be there? Neil Brown at West Virginia seems to be falling short of the expectations of that fan base, right? How about Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri? I don't know. They just gave him an extension, $6 to $7 million a year for what?
Pour that drink out.
Yeah. And how about Jeff Hafley, Boston College? Is he moving the needle there? I will say that Neil Brown is going to be the first Power 5 head coach fired. I think Eli Drinkwitz's contract is a little prohibitive there, right? I think Jimbo Fisher, I think somewhere in there is a good coach. I don't know what the problem is there in College Station. What do you guys think? First Power 5 coach to lose their job will be. Next up.
3.
Big ups. Congratulations to one Caden Grice for earning the right to be a finalist for the John Olerud Award. That is the two-way Player of the Year award on the ACC champion Clemson baseball team. Grice has been a two-way threat for the Tigers, 8-1 with a 3.25 ERA, 195 opponents batting average, and 91 strikeouts. All right. At the plate, 302 with 16 home runs, a triple, 13 doubles, 63 RBI, a 409 on base percentage. How about that? was also the ACC tournament MVP on Sunday, leading Clemson to its 16th ACC title. Big ups. Congratulations, Mr. Caden Grice. Cheers to you. Just not cheers with an alcoholic drink at any beach in Charleston County, as we saw and learned the hard way over the weekend. Next up,
2.
DeAndre Hopkins released by the Arizona Cardinals. Former Clemson wide receiver, 2 years, $34.4 million left on that deal. Why is this interesting? Because former Clemson quarterback Deshaun Watson said that he would love to have DeAndre Hopkins on his team. Well, how about that? Wouldn't that be something special? DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson reuniting in Cleveland for the Cleveland Browns. You know, I do get the sense that Clemson fans have kind of washed their hands of Deshaun Watson. Before the whole Massagegate thing happened, you guys voted that Deshaun Watson was your gold medal quarterback performer ahead of Trevor Lawrence. After Massagegate, I posted the same thing, had a lot of people saying, no, Trevor Lawrence is the No, it's based on what they did at Clemson, right? You don't get to change it because of Massagegate. Would the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, if you're a Clemson fan, would that allow you to forgive Deshaun Watson? Would you bring Deshaun Watson back into your good graces? Would there now be 2 Clemson teams in the NFL? The Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And finally,
1.
we know of exactly one SEC on CBS kickoff time thus far this year. And it is, my friends, Georgia and South Carolina. Kickoff is going to be at 3:30 p.m. They're making that their prime time game of the week. What do we make of it? A tip of the cap to Shane Beamer and the job that he's done in recruiting, in building excitement, right? And maybe that particular weekend doesn't have a lot of marquee games, but you are on the marquee. CBS is telling everyone that you, the Gamecocks playing Georgia, is a very big deal. And why shouldn't it be? The Gamecocks have a track record of giving Georgia everything they can handle. But that is the only primetime network game on CBS that is known. And it is the team of many of you, the South Carolina Gamecocks. How about that? And those are today's top 5 at 5. Now it's your chance to chime in, which you can do at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FAN-FONE. That's 844-326-3663. The text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan and away you go. You can get to us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube at the Fan Upstate on all 3. And finally, you guys can all email the show. Mark Ryan, that is M-A-R-C Ryan, at thefanupstate.com. All the different ways you can get in touch with us here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. Coming up next on Offsides, it is the most egregious example of self-scouting, of helmet scouting, I've ever seen in my life. And it, frankly, ticks me off. I'll get to that next. This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate.
YouTube stream, it's been a blast again. Thank you so much to Spur Daddy, Madcraft, Trey Davis, Brandon Keeler, all you guys who got into the comment section and kept it going for the entire length of the show. Thank you so much. We'll be back doing it again tomorrow, right?
Look forward to it. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
tomorrow. See you tomorrow.